Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be delving deeper into some basic concepts of StatMech. Particularly we'll be discussing about the definition of temperature and how it is defined using StatMech. Just to recap, in the previous video we looked at the importance of StatMech for molecular simulations, and we went through some important terminologies like ensemble, phase space, particle system, equilibrium, etc. And then in the end we talked about the difference between classical and Hamiltonian mechanics and the advantage of using generalized coordinate system. In this video we'll be talking about temperature and how to describe temperature using StatMech concept. So first, when we say that two bodies are in thermal equilibrium, what do we actually mean by that? What do we mean by thermal equilibrium? So the concept of thermal equilibrium stems from the zeroth law of thermodynamics, which states that the two systems, each separated in thermal equilibrium with the third, are in equilibrium with each other. So this looks fairly fairly simple and it's fairly simple to think about it. But what do we mathematically mean by thermal equilibrium? So let's consider an example here. Let's take two bodies. One of them is hot at temperature T1 and other one is cold at temperature T2. At time t equals to 0, we connect these two systems such that there is exchange of energies between these two systems. So we know that heat flows from hotter body to colder body. We have our own experiences. When we touch a hot body, we feel that heat, right? So heat is generally just the thermal energy in transit. So after connecting these two systems actually exchange energy between them, and after sufficiently long time they reach a particular temperature, that is Tf, the final temperature. We see that both these temperatures are the same, and we can say that the bodies are in thermal equilibrium. So thermal equilibrium basically means that there is no net heat flow between these two bodies. Okay, but what do we mean by temperature, right? Let's talk about temperature and more. So to understand some concepts of StatMech, we need to understand the terminologies involved. So one of the most important terminologies are the microstate and the macrostate. So let's take a very easy example of tossing coins. Let's say we toss 3 coins and observe the outcome. So the outcomes, the number of all the possible outcomes are listed here. So for example, coin 1, coin 2, coin 3 can have different outcomes, either head or tail, right? So all the possible outcomes that can come out of this are called the microstate. Okay, and each of these outcomes are equally likely, right? So each of these outcomes are equally probable to occur and they are equally likely. So we have total 8 microstates here. So what is a macrostate? A macrostate is something that we can observe in the macro scale. For example, if you say that I only want one head, so that actually that defines a certain system, and then you see that there are 3 possible outcomes that can have only one head. So this becomes the macrostate of 2 tails or one head, right? Similarly, you have a macrostate of 3 heads, that is basically all 3 of them facing head, or a macrostate of 3 tails, that is all 3 of them have tails, and similarly a macrostate of 1 tail and 2 heads, right? So you see that the total number of macrostates are 4, and you can see that when you define a macrostate, there are a number of microstates that actually correspond to a particular macrostate, right? For example, in this case, there are 3 particular microstates that correspond to this macrostate, right? Okay. So now we do the same experiment, and now let's say we consider 100 coins. So you can have all possible kind of outcomes from this kind of system. So in this case we have a very huge number of outcomes, that is, there are two possible outcomes and then there are 100 coins. So you see there are 2 raised to power 100 outcomes, and all these outcomes are basically the microstates of the system, and all the probability of each microstate is basically equal, and then it is given by this number, okay, 1 by 2 raised to power 100, that is, this is 10 raised to power minus 30. So this is the probability of each of these outcomes, the probability of each of the microstate of the system. Now let's take an example of macrostate. So let's say we say that we want to see the number of microstates which correspond to 50 heads and 50 tails. So that we can easily calculate. We can use this this is simple probability. So we can calculate, and this comes out to be a very huge number. See, it's 4 into 10 raised to power 27 microstates that corresponds to 50 heads and 50 tails. Similarly, you can see that for a different number of head and tail combination, you could also you can calculate, and here is a small example. So for example, if you want to say that I want all the coins to be heads, so it's only possible with one particular outcome, right? When all of them are heads. All of them are heads. So in this case, the probability of this occurring is 1 by 2 raised to power 100. And then we know that this particular macro state is very it's not it's not that probable to occur, right? So when you toss say 100 coins, you don't expect all the 100 coins to have heads. Of course it is possible. So it is possible, but with a very low probability, right? So let's extend this explanation to a real system with particles and energy, velocity and everything. So the microstate, the system can be described by a very large number of equally likely microstates. Like I explained earlier, the system could have a large number of microstate, and then you could have corresponding macrostates, and the system can be described by these microstates. What we measure is actually a property of the macrostate of the system. Okay, consequently, the most probable macrostate that the system will exist in is the one with the largest number of microstate. So this is very intuitive. So if we have a large number of microstates that correspond to a particular macrostate, that macrostate is is bound to be more probable. That is bound to have more occurrences, right? So the system will be represented by a macrostate which has the largest number of microstates. To specify the microstate of a real system, we need to specify the microscopic configurations. For example, I was talking about this position, velocity, energy, and etc. So if you have particles in a system, then the particles are defined by a position, 3 coordinates for position and 3 components of velocity. You could have apart from that, you would have energy for each particle. So all of these information goes into describing the microstates of the system. And then the kind of properties that we measure, like temperature, pressure, etc. These are the macrostates of the system, right? So let's talk about this statistical definition of temperature. So let's consider two large systems that can actually exchange energy with each other, but they cannot exchange energy with anything else, right? So E1 corresponds to system 1, energy of the system 1, and E2 corresponds to energy of system 2. And we are saying here that the total energy of the system is fixed, that is E, and it is given by the summation of the two energies of the system. So if a system has energy E, then it could be in any of the omega E microstates. So omega here represents microstate of the system. So to explain this better, let us take an example of let's take an example of a system with 5 particles. Right, the 5 particles are, these are just bound in a box. So what happens is, for each of these five particles, we have a position x and we have velocity, right? So this position is 3 coordinates, and you have 3 components for velocity. So for each of the particles, we have 3 components of position and 3 component of velocity. Now, when you describe the energy of the system, it is given by the total energy, that is the kinetic energy plus the potential energy of the system. So this kinetic energy is defined by the velocities of the particles, and this is the potential energy is defined by the coordinates, position of the particles, right? So you can have any possible combination of these velocity and position that can lead to the summation of both these energies such that the total energy is fixed, right? So this total energy can be, for example, let's say 10. The kinetic energy can be 4. This could be 6. This could be 5. This could be 5. This could be 3. This could be 7. But the microstates corresponding to a kinetic energy of 3 and kinetic potential energy of 7, or a kinetic energy of 5 and a potential energy of 5, all these contribute to a certain total energy E, right? So that this whole configuration of these possibilities of velocities and coordinates, they all contribute to this microstate omega E, right? So now what we do is we connect these two systems and let them, leave them sufficiently long so that they attain thermal equilibrium, like we discussed earlier, right? So what happens is, the system 1 has, for a particular energy E1, it has some omega 1 number of microstates, and system 2, for a particular energy E2, it has omega 2 number of microstates. But when you consider the whole system, the total number of microstates is just the product of the 2 microstates of the individual systems, right? Here we have some assumptions. So we assume that each microstate is equally likely. We don't differentiate between one microstate and the other, because we say that each of them are equally likely. Then we say that the system is behaving in such a way that the microstates are continually changing. They are changing, but as we defined, the all the microstate lead to a certain macrostate, right? And then given enough time, we say that the system will visit all the microstates and will spend equal time in all the microstates. This is something called as the ergodic hypothesis. So the most probable division of energy between the two systems is one that maximizes the product of the microstates of each system. So like we discussed earlier, the the macrostate which corresponds to the largest number of microstates is the most probable macrostate, and it is the most probable configuration that the system will be in, right? So this is what is restated here, but here we have some mathematical terms here. So what happens is, when this product of the microstate is maximized, that condition will actually define the most probable division of energy between the two systems. Okay. So to do that, the simplest way is to do differential calculus. So let's do that. So what we do here is, we'll do with respect to E1, we'll differentiate the whole thing, the product of the microstates. And we'll equate it to 0. So we apply the product rule for differentiation. Right? Now we have already said that we have fixed the total energy, that is E is fixed, right? So when we do the differential of this equation, we get, so since E is fixed, it is 0. We have d1 plus de2. Right? Now let's substitute this into this equation. So we bring omega 1 here and we bring omega 2 here, we get 1 by omega 1 . So this whole term can be written as d ln omega 1 by dt1, right? So this is the condition. This is the condition that defines the most likely distribution of energy between the two systems. So this is the condition that will maximize the product of the two microstates. Right? Yeah. So this is what is restated here. So all these are just here for the sake of completion. So the temperature is actually defined using this term. This 1 by kBT is equal to d ln omega by dE. Sorry. Okay, and then this Kb is the Boltzmann constant. And this is given as 1.38 into 10 raised to the power minus 23 joule per Kelvin. Okay, so let's revisit some concepts of ensemble. So this word was first coined by William Gibbs in 1878. So as we discussed in the previous video, it's a large number of copies of the system in which each copy represents a possible state of the system that the system can take, right? And then we have three popular ensembles in StatMech. The first one is the microcanonical ensemble. It's the ensemble of systems that have a fixed energy, fixed number of particles, and a fixed density. So it is given by NVE, fixed. And then we have canonical ensemble, where the temperature of the system is fixed. The system can exchange energy between a large reservoir. So this is described by a constant temperature, constant volume, and constant number of particles. And then we have a grand canonical ensemble in which the system can exchange both energy and particles with the system. In this case, we have the chemical potential, the volume, and the temperature fixed. So we'll talk about the chemical potential in later videos. Thank you for staying. The references for this video is from the book called Concepts in Thermal Physics by Stephen Blundell and Catherine Blundell. Thank you for watching the video. Subscribe to the channel. Click on the bell icon to receive more updates.